So throughout history, military leaders have invented plenty of things that are dangerous. Nuclear bombs, aircraft carriers, chemical weapons. But occasionally, they seen rats and said, let's make that shit blow up. Today we're looking at the exploding rat incident. During World War II, British intelligence came up with one of the greatest ideas ever conceived by people who clearly don't sleep a lot. They took dead rats and stuffed them with bombs.
Hi there. Those homemade pies sure look good.
Oh, these aren't homemade. They were made in a factory. A bomb factory. They're bombs.
Somehow, this idea survived multiple meetings and the entire screening process. Listen, I have a new groundbreaking idea, guys. Exploding rats.
Excuse me, sir.
Shut up, Timmy. Now that that's settled, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
You're probably thinking that this wouldn't work, but surprisingly it did. The German soldiers discovered the rats before they could be used. So instead of blowing up factories, Britain accidentally convinced Germany that every rat in Europe might be carrying a pipe bomb, which honestly is more impressive. While we're on the subject of bombs, here's another interesting thing that was tried, which are bat bombs. In 1942, an American dentist looked at a bat and had the exact thought process of a supervillain. What if this... Okay, last time using that edit. And because war apparently lowers IQ, the US government funded this idea. So obviously the last plan didn't work, but this one's different. We have bats this time. Timmy, hand down.
But I have a good question.
Oh, sorry guys, I was enjoying the product of our sponsor for today's video. Our sponsor is me. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. The plan was to attach tiny bombs to thousands of rats. Not rats, bats. And release them over Japanese cities. And let bats hide inside buildings so the cities would just burst into flames. Very, very sick. And the thing is, again, this went through rigorous testing. And during one test, the bats escaped and immediately burned down part of the military base. Accidentally, the bats were one of the few people to best the US military. That's a pretty good stat line. Honestly, basically a triple-double. And it cost millions of dollars before somebody finally realized that this was a war that would be lost. Now let's move on to the next dumbest thing that military's done. Australia declares war on birds. Bro, can you get out of my office? In 1932, Australia went to war with emus and lost. I need you to understand, how crazy that is for their aura. They lost. The emus were destroying crops in Western Australia, so the government deployed soldiers with machine guns. What's going on? Yeah, they lost pretty badly. At one point, soldiers fired thousands of rounds and barely killed any birds. The military even mounted machine guns onto trucks. So at this point, the emus have plot armor.
Hey, it's me, Goku!
And eventually, the news got wind of this and started describing the birds like SEAL Team 6. And honestly, they earned that title. The army eventually withdrew, so officially speaking, the emus successfully defended their homeland from the Australian military. Nature remains undefeated. At this point, you'd probably think militaries would stop trying to recruit animals, but they didn't learn their lesson. In the 1940s, famous psychologist B.F. Skinner created something called Project Pigeon. Yes, you can look that up. That is the real name. The idea was to train pigeons to guide missiles, and they were taught to peck at images of enemy targets, which controlled the missile's direction. And somehow, it worked miraculously. The pigeons became surprisingly accurate, which is horrifying to think about. Imagine surviving an entire war to just get 100-0 comboed by a government bird.
Get him up, let him get up, let him get up, let him get up.
At this point, the military was basically assembling the Avengers out of wildlife. The project was eventually canceled, though, because computers were invented, which was probably the best decision. because humanity was really close to tactical birds. Now let's move on to our next topic, the inflatable army.
So what are we gonna do with balloon guns?
I don't know. Yes, Call of Duty balloon warfare. Now surprisingly, yes, balloons. Inflatable artillery. This is still a dumb military plan, I'm gonna say that, but it worked really well. During World War II, the Allies created an entirely fake army with inflatable tanks, inflatable artillery, rubber planes, and fake sound effects. They literally blasted recordings of military activity through speakers to trick Germany into thinking an invasion was happening somewhere else. This means World War II included gaslighting. And somehow, they believed it. So inflatable tanks technically achieved a better military record than the bats and the rats. So to summarize, Britain invented explosive rats, America attempted airborne arson bats, Australia lost a war to birds, the military trained pigeons to operate missiles, yes, missiles,
Man, get off my head!
and inflatable birthday party decorations outperformed actual weapons. And somehow, humanity is the dominant species on Earth, luckily. At this point, I'm convinced every other species just looked and was just like, we're not going to get involved. This has been Dreaded Lore, where history gets progressively harder to defend. Love even when it's hard. Goodbye.